Hello friends, welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. After the last sim update and the updates to the mod, I decided to do a series of videos with two most common aircraft which are extensively modded by two awesome development teams, Working Title and Fly-by-Wire. And I decided to do a ground school video series with these two aircraft, starting with the Citation CJ4. In this series we will look into the flight planning stage, what tools I use to plan my flights, how to do the flight planning in the cockpit, how to start up the aircraft and cockpit layout in general, and how to get her to taxi ready. And then obviously takeoff, climb, cruise, descent, arrival and approach. I believe this will be 3 or 4 videos depending on the length, but today we will start with the flight planning and powering up the aircraft and programming the FMC for our flight plan. I think that will do. I want to keep these videos around 30 minutes, so I will stop around 30-minute mark wherever we are at. So let's start with the flight planning part, but just to have some silence, let's jump into the cockpit first. Okay, so I get this question a lot, like what I use for my flight planning and how do I access to the charts. And I will show you each part step by step. Let's start with the flight planning. I use SimBrief most of the time to plan my flights, and the other tool I use is Toolkit Pro, which I will share when we get to that screen if I'm not sure about the departure and destination and if I want to find a flight that's a real world flight. So SimBrief screen is here. We go to the dispatch and my flight plan and new flight, and we will fill in the details to generate a flight for ourselves. So the airline is going to be TSP, the sim pilot, and we'll throw in a flight number. We are currently at London City Airport, which is Echo Golf Lima Charlie, and then our destination is going to be to Dublin. As you see here, I search for the airport code, which is Echo India Delta Victor. Oh, Whiskey, I'm sorry. So Echo Delta India Whiskey. Oops. Echo India Delta Whiskey. So that's the departure and destination. You can also get weather for the departure and arrival if you want to from these small cloud icons. Airframe type, we are going to use Citation CJ4. I am using a custom profile for the working title CJ4. I think if I can find it, I will put the link to the description. If I cannot, it will be in the developers Discord. You can ask the question there. The units, because we are in UK, are going to be kilograms. And then this is all we need to do. It is giving us the route information down here, even if we haven't generated the operational flight plan. And the other thing is the AirX cycle. If you have a Navigraph subscription, you can unlock this. If not, you'll probably stick with whatever is default in SimBrief. So from here, now we can generate the OFP and hit yes. And that's where I stop using the browser. And I usually switch to Toolkit Pro from this point. Let me switch screens and put the Toolkit Pro window over there. And as you see, this is the Toolkit Pro window. We go under flight planning, and then now we can load the latest flight from SimBrief after generating the OFP, and it will carry on what the waypoints are based on the cycle, and it will display the flight over here. And all you need to do is if you are connected to the simulator now, you can hit fly now, and it will carry the operational flight plan, and it is saying I'm not connected. Now if I hit this, it will connect to the simulator and start tracking our position too. So it will give you the operational flight plan here. It will give you a scratch pad. This is mostly useful when you are flying on VATSIM to take notes when you are talking to the ATC or clearance delivery. And then it will list the waypoints and their GPS coordinates, so that if there is a duplication in the FMC, you can check here to make sure you are selecting the correct one. The other stuff Sim Toolkit Pro gives you is the taxi route over here. It is gonna download it in a second and show you. And while it's doing its thing, let's see if it will. It's kinda slow at times. I don't know if it's related to the internet download speed or the server load, whatever. But you can see the taxi route here. This is your load sheet based on your sim brief plan. It's gonna give you the block fuel, and then the zero fuel weight and the passenger count, so on and so forth. You'll get the frequencies over here, and then the weather report at the final tab, and same for the arrival as well. The other good thing is, as I said, I get a lot of questions about the charts. Sim Toolkit Pro has access to a service called ChartFox. This is a VATSIM member service, but I think Sim Toolkit Pro has a username that they are using to bring the charts here. So if you click to the departure charts and then search Echo Golf Lima Charlie, it should bring the charts for the airport. Let's try it again. Okay, is it already here? Yeah, it is already here. My bad. It's taking your flight plan and bringing the charts for the airport we are at. We are, I believe, departing from, let's see here. We are departing from 09 at London City. So if we take a look at the SIDs for 09, and our SID is going to be BPK 1 hotel, so we can check that chart very quickly from the SID. And then if we come down here, we should be able to see, and we can rotate this. Let's see, it's probably not this one. Oh, this is the one we are looking for. BPK 1 hotel, I don't see it here. CLM BPK. So this is the problem you will run into when using the charts through ChartFox. There might be some charts that are dated and you won't be able to see it. But here is how you access the charts without paying to Navigraph. And you will also get the arrival charts to your destination, and then also approach for the destination as well. So I wanted to give a quick overview of how you can access to the charts. Most of the charts are put in here by the VATSIM members or ATC, and they are, I believe, using these charts as well. So it's there for you if you want to use this chart service through Sim Toolkit Pro. Anyway, let's clean up the screen and get over here into the cockpit and see what we are going to do to start this aircraft. Just let's go through the panels very quick. This is your comms panel or radio panel. This is electrical panel. Over here is the AC, and then FADEC. Most of this is in up at the moment. Cabin pressurization, and then the anti-ice systems, the buttons for your MFD, and then the buttons for the PFD, your barometric pressure setting, zoom in, zoom out, and then navigation and selection for the menu, and bunch of other things. Your FMC is down here. This is the MCP, main control panel, or also known as the autopilot panel. Down below here is your lights, exterior lights, passenger lights, and pulse lights. If I can get closer to the pedestal, I believe it's easier. And then your brightness for the keys, or the illumination for the keys, and the brightness for the screens is here. And then your engine start stop switches, and then engine starter switches are down below. Your throttle is here, flaps are here, speed brakes are here, aileron trim, pitch trim, nose on, and then the rudder trim, and the secondary elevator trim is here. That's the parking brake, and the pedals are down below. And I think this is all about the cockpit very quickly. And at the top we have 3 different individual floodlights, and we can adjust their brightness individually. This is the breaker panel. It is not functional. Usually in real life, if a breaker is tripped, or if a fuse is tripped, it will pop out and display a white ring around it. And over here you have more fuses for the other systems, and then some other things that are not functional in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Anyway, let's get to the starting part. First things first, we're going to turn on the battery master. As you see, we started to hear some noises in the cockpit, and we have MFD coming on. We can set the avionics to dispatch at this point and clear the master caution. While we are here, you don't want to spend too much time on battery power. So if you have ground power, it is suggested to turn on the ground power. But let's initialize our position first. We'll copy the GPS position and paste it into this second row with the line select key, where we see the squares, and that will enter our current position. So now aircraft knows where we are in the world. And then next page is displaying the FMC position and the GPS positions, so they are all matching. From here, working title mod gives us the option to turn on the external power. So we'll go here, we'll go to the mod set, and then you can set your units here. You can set your SimBrief pilot ID to download the flight plan from SimBrief, which I usually do, and then you can turn on the ground power unit. And then the cabin lights, you can turn them off, dim. These are the lights back in the passenger area. So now we have ground power. We are not worried about draining the batteries. I think what we can do is we can get closer and take a look at what is displayed here on the MFD without turning on the avionics. That's the M1 for the engines, ITT, internal turbine temperature, N2, oil temperature, oil pressure, fuel on board, your aileron and rudder trim, and then elevator trim, and the flaps are displayed here. This is the system messages that you see here. This is the course deviation indicator, because the PFD is not turned on, it's displayed here. And then the waypoint information and the wind information, as well as the current heading, which if I select this will synchronize to the current heading 357, and then the heading we select through this knob is displayed over there. Alright, and then down below, ground speed, true air speed, real air temperature, standard air temperature, and then the ISA deviation, and then terrain and weather radar situation. If it's white, they are turned off. If you turn on terrain and weather through here, they will turn to blue and display the relevant information. Very good. So the next step is to plan our flight using the FMC. Let's go back from here, go to the index page, and then go to the position initialization and then the flight plan. So you have multiple options here. First one, you can enter your flight plan from the world map menu and the aircraft will carry it automatically. You can enter it manually. You can recall it from SimBrief if you have the SimBrief user ID programmed into the FMC at the page where I showed you, which is the mod set, and you have to enter your SimBrief pilot ID to this box by selecting this line select key after typing it in. So what we are going to do is we will do it the old school way, and we will enter it manually first, and then we will recall it from SimBrief as well. So to do that, let me pull the Sim Toolkit Pro and the waypoint information. Our origin is Echo Golf Lima Charlie. Let's plug that in there. Our destination is Echo India Delta Whiskey, Dublin in Ireland, and I thought we should do a UK flight after the world update. Okay, we got it there. So from here we can start programming our waypoints. Our first waypoint, and I will put the waypoint information when editing the video to the top so that you can follow along. The first waypoint is Bravo Papa Kilo, and it's a direct waypoint after our SID, so we'll plug in here. And then one thing, if you wanna see your plan, you can go to the lower menu and switch down to plan mode, which will then display the plan as you go along the plan. Unfortunately, without turning the avionics on, you can't change the range as far as I know. To be able to change the range, you have to turn the avionics on, and then you can zoom in or zoom out, like so. Let's leave it here, and let's leave this as at dispatch until we finish this. Okay, so first waypoint is done. Next, our next waypoint is through an airway, which is Uniform November 601. The airways go to the left side, and then the waypoints go to the next to the right side. So it is going to be Lima Echo Sierra Tango Alpha. We'll plug it in here, and then from there we are jumping to another airway, which is Uniform Papa 6, and then that's gonna take us to Radol Romeo Oscar Delta Oscar Lima. And here where you can refer to Sim Toolkit Pro to check the GPS coordinate of that waypoint. And if I take a look at it, it is 53 degrees, so it is the top one. And usually the FMC displays the closest one at the top. So if you select the top waypoint all the time, I think you can't go wrong with that. So from Rodol, we are taking Uniform Lima 28, and that is going to take us to Leldo Lima Echo Lima Delta Oscar, and then from Leldo we are taking Mike 145 and going to Bagso. So Bravo Alpha Golf Sierra Oscar, and then from there our arrival starts. So these are the waypoints, and they are all displayed here as you saw. And if you remember the map screen in Sim Toolkit Pro, it is pretty much looking the same. So I feel comfortable with executing this, and all you need to do from this point is to select your departure. We are departing from runway 09 and we are departing through Bravo Papa Kilo 1 Hotel departure. So that is that. We'll execute this too, and that is your flight plan for you. Now we can check the legs page to see how it is looking and if there is any discontinuities. There are not, so we are good. If you see a discontinuity, what you can do is, and as you see, I'm gonna point it to here too, because of how Microsoft Flight Simulator takes the navigational data, as you see the same waypoint is displayed twice here, which we don't want. And same goes for discontinuities. To clear a discontinuity, you can hit clear delete, which will select delete over here, and you can select the line select key next to that discontinuity or a waypoint that you want to remove. In this case, I'm going to remove the second one because the first one has the altitude restriction in there, so I want to get rid of this one so that it's not duplicated, and execute that. Now we are good. Take a look at it again, and everything looks perfect. You can also select your arrival. If you are on VATSIM flying using an online ATC network, I advise or suggest not to select your arrival because it might change, and how Microsoft Flight Simulator handles navigational data might mess your flight at the end of it. So I'll leave it alone until I get close to the destination and select my arrival when I'm there. So this is one way of doing the flight plan. Let's go back and go to the position initialization menu and then to flight plan. So what happens if you want to clear this flight plan and start from scratch? So all you need to do is plug in a different destination. So I'm going to make it Echo Golf Lima Charlie, plug it in there. This should clean the entire flight plan, which it didn't. Interesting. Okay, let's try this again. Echo Golf Lima Charlie. Okay, entering the origin one more time. That was my bad. We'll clear the entire flight plan for you. So now we can recall it from SimBrief by going to the index and then second page, route menu, and then flight plan recall, which is this top one. And there is another one that you can recall the flight plan that you created through world map menu, which is the second option down below. And as you see now, the flight plan is also entered, and we can check the legs page and see if it's looking the same, and looks like it is the same waypoints that we entered before. And when we select our departure, because it doesn't bring your departure when you import the flight plan, we are going to see the same thing, the same waypoint duplicated again. So let's clear this and execute. That is our flight plan for us. Alright, so I think from here we already entered our flight plan. What we can do is we can start the engines, and I think that will be the last part of it, starting the engines. Or let me go back to the FMC. We can also go to performance initialization. We haven't done this part. Let's finish this before starting the engines. So according to SimBrief, our block fuel is 995 kilograms, and it is a little bit more than what we want. So to change this, you have to go and switch to, I don't know where I can put this screen, maybe make it a little bit smaller, which I don't want to. Let's move aside so that we see them side by side. So you change this to get close to what sim brief gives you if you want to perfectly follow it. So 993, 995. I will go a little bit higher to 39. I would rather have more fill than less. And every time I play with this, it is messing up the... So I'm not sure if this is Microsoft Flight Simulator problem. I can't change this. When I change, it just messes the sliders. I had to go back and do this. So I'll stick with 993. 2 kilograms is not going to have a huge impact. And then the payload or the takeoff weight that SimBrief is giving us is 6,144. So 6,400 is a little bit too much. So we will reduce it slightly from this slider to 6,144 or close. I'll take this, and then now what we can do is we can now go back and then come back. It should update the sensed fuel, and then the takeoff weight is showing 5,600. so this is not what we want. We'll add, let's see, 5 passengers, maybe 6 passengers. Yeah, that is close. So now we are good. Cruising altitude is automatically brought from SimBrief, and I think it is the correct one. Let me see here real quick. Yes, flight level 430. And from here we can go to takeoff page and start entering the information. There are multiple ways to enter the wind information. One way of doing it is to go to the arc, and that will display the wind, and according to this, wind is coming from roughly from 090 at 3 knots. And if I check the weather report in Toolkit Pro, it is saying the winds are coming from, let me center this one more time, winds are coming from 100, and it is at 6 knots, so I'll just use that one. Outside air temperature is 10 degrees, as we see here. We'll use that. And then the QNH is showing 1010. And to test the QNH, you can always hit the B key and check the standby altimeter, and as you see, it's 1010, so we are good there. Next page, these are our takeoff speeds. We will send them, and then we will check them later on when we start the engines. So all the programming is done right now. We are ready to start the engines. And I'm gonna show you another cool option with the working title mod. You go to the checklist page, and this is how you navigate normal checklist before starting engines. So we will go through this checklist to start the engines. Okay, battery switch is on. I'll check that. Emergency light switch is this one, which is in-up, so we can't just change it. We assume it is armed. Standby flight display switch is here, and it's on. Avionics switch is at dispatch. Parking brake is set. Wheel chocks, let's take a look outside. They are removed, so we can say yes. Cabin door is closed. Passenger briefing. So now we can hit the passenger briefing, and we can do the safety briefing for the passengers. Or you can do the takeoff long or short, but I like to start with this.
May I have your attention, please?
So while the passenger briefing is happening, we'll go how we navigate to the first page. That's what I'm looking for here. Hold on, escape. Okay, this page is done. Cabin door is closed. Passenger briefing is done. Seats, belts and pedals are adjusted and secure. Exterior lights, so now we can turn on the beacon and the nav light. ECAS is looking normal. FMS is checked and set. Climate control selector is this guy over here and it's off currently. So we will select that and then next. Starting the engines. Throttles are idle. That's checked. Engine starter button. I'm gonna use my controller. And in this aircraft, because it has FADEC, you can start the engine run switch and turn it on immediately. So engine starter is pushed, engine start stop is now at run, and we will monitor. So FADEC is full authority digital engine control system. It knows when to inject the fuel, so you don't have to wait for 20% like I told in my previous videos. That doesn't hold true anymore, and I just got this from the video published by the developer. So the ITT is rising, N2 is rising, M1 is rising, and N2 should stabilize around 53.67%, which will give us a sign of good engine start. So ITT, as you see, is here and it's rising. So we checked for that. Let's check that. ECAS is looking okay. And now it is stable now. We can start the opposite engine. So let's take a look at down below. Hit the run switch and then open the guard and run it. So now we should be able to monitor and see. So now the opposite engine is starting. Now we can go and disconnect the external power. That's what it says, right? Next page, mod set, ground power unit is off. Alright, external power is disconnected. Electrical system, you can see it through here. Electrical system is showing okay, no problems there. We'll check that, and checklist is complete. So that is how you start these aircraft, and the next step is to get it ready for taxi, which we will also complete here in a second and wrap the video there. So the avionics switch is to on. Let's check that one. Climate control selector to norm. That is turned on. Passenger lights and safety button. It is turned on. Trims. This is the takeoff trim, and that green zone is where it needs to be, so I'm going to adjust it a little bit. We are very light today, so it is okay to have it close to the top. So the trim is set. Flight controls, let's go and do it like a good pilot. Bring the yoke back to visibility. Checking the rudders, full left, full right, full forward, full back. Flight controls are free and correct. Let's select that. Speed brakes and ground spoilers, we will move it back in place. It is checked. And then the flaps, now we can check and set the flaps. Flaps are over there and flaps are set. So hydraulic pressure, second system page, I believe. I'm sorry, that is the first page. Hydraulic pressure is looking good. Engine only anti-ice. We will probably use this today, but not turn them on right now. We will probably check them when we are at the runway. Takeoff data is confirmed and set, we know that. Avionics is checked. Autopilot engage and disconnect. This is a check to make sure autopilot is working, and it is.
Autopilot.
There we go. That is checked. Altimeter is set 1010, and we will cross check one more time by pressing the B key. It is looking pressurization. We can't do anything about it. We'll just assume that it is okay. And then ECAS is looking great. Aft divider doors. This is something again we can't do anything. That is also checked, and the checklist is complete. So we are ready to taxi. We will stop here for this video and then wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys like the idea of having, oh it's too loud outside, having this ground school for Citation CJ4. Please let me know in the comments what you want to see, or did you like the idea? Did you want to see videos like this with different aircraft in the future? I will be looking forward to hear your comments, and I enjoy reading them. Before I close, I'd like to thank all the subscribers. I think the channel passed 3,290, or I haven't checked it today, maybe 3,300 subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. I cannot explain it in words how grateful I am and how appreciative I am to you guys and your support. Please keep the support going, and please keep your comments coming. I love to read them, and it also improves my creator skills. So thank you very much for being with me here today and watching the video. I will see you in the next episode.